Chapter 1: The Utilization and Management of Natural Resources in Malaysia. Background of Malaysia. Malaysia, known for its cultural diversity and natural beauty, and Kuala Lumpur as its capital, meanwhile Putrajaya as the seat of government, the country's head of the state Yang di-Pertuan Agong, chosen from among Malay state monarchs, and Islam is the official religion practiced predominantly by Malays. Malaysia history began with the Sultanate of Malacca in the 1400s, an important hub for the spice trade. Colonized by the Portuguese, Dutch and British, Malay gained independence in 1957 under Tunku Abdul Rahman's lead. In 1963, Malaysia was formed through a union of Malaya, Singapore, Sabah and Sarawak. Next is Malaysia maps. Malaysia is a federal country located in Southeast Asia. Malaysia has two main areas separated by the South China Sea, namely Peninsular Malaysia and East Malaysia. Both areas have almost the same terrain, which is the sloping seashore, dense forests and rolling hills. The climate is equatorial, but some places in Malaysia, especially in the northern part of Peninsular Malaysia and northern Sabah, experience a tropical monsoon climate. Malaysia is located close to the equator, which is at 1 and 7 north latitude and 100 and 119 east longitude. The area of Malaysia covers about 300,000 kilometers. The Malaysian capital, Kuala Lumpur, lies in the western part of the peninsula, about 25 miles from the coast. Meanwhile, the administrative centre, Putrajaya, is located about 16 miles south of the capital. Malaysia flag. The Malaysian flag, known as Jalur Gemilang, features 14 red and white horizontal stripes representing 13 states and a federal territory, which is Kuala Lumpur, Labuan and Putrajaya. The red symbolizes bravery and the white symbolizes purity. The yellow crescent and star represents Islam and the Malay rulers' royal colour. The red, white and blue colours reflect unity with the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth. The flag's 14-point star signifies the unity of the states with the federal government. Next is administration. Malaysia practices a parliamentary democracy with a constitutional monarch. The Yang di-Pertuan Agong as head of state, the federal constitution supports the system by dividing government power into three branches: legislature, judiciary, and executive. As a federal democratic nation, Malaysia includes the states of Perlis, Kedah, Penang, Perak, Selangor, Negeri Sembilan, Melaka, Johor, Pahang, Terengganu, Kelantan, Sarawak and Sabah.
Here are some macroeconomic data. First, gross domestic price (GDP). Second, unemployment. Third, inflation. Fourth, export and import. 5, net export. First, gross domestic price. As you can see, based on GDP statistics for the country of Malaysia showing increase from 2013 to 2019, the highest GDP amount is in 2022 and the lowest is in 2013. There was a little bit decrease in 2020 but increase again in 2021 and the following year. Second, unemployment. As you can see, the graph shows that the employment rate in Malaysia is not consistent from 2013 to 2022. The highest unemployment rate is in 2020, which is 4.54%. and the lowest in 2014 is 2.88%. Third, inflation. As you can see, the rate of inflation experienced by Malaysia from 2013 to 2022. The rate of inflation shows an inconsistent trend. The high inflation rate is in 2017, which is 3.87%, and the lowest is in 2020 as much as negative 1.40%. In 2013, the inflation rate was 2.11%. Then in 2014, the inflation rate in the country increased to 3.40%, an increase of 1.3%. In 2015 and 2016, the inflation rate showed a decrease at 2.10 and 2.9%. This decrease was 1.5% compared to 2014. Next, the inflation rate in 2017 increased again to a value of 3.87%, an increase of 1.77 compared to the previous year. Then decrease again in 2018 until 2020. The decrease in the inflation rate in Malaysia was as much as 5.1%, which is from 3.87% in 2017 to negative 1.40% in 2020. The difference show is very significant but increasing again in 2021 and 2022. The value of the inflation rate is 2.48% and 3.38%. Number 4, export and import. The graph show the trend of export in Malaysia show increase as well as decrease, but not significantly. The highest export amount is in 2022 and the lowest is in 2030. The export trend for the 5 years from 2013 to 2018 show a continuous increase, and in the following 2 years, which in 2019, but increasing again from 2020 to 2022. Import in Malaysia show increase and also decrease, but not significantly too. The highest import amount is in 2022 and the lowest is in 2013. The import trend for the 5 year from 2030 to 2018 show a continuous increase, and there was a decrease in the following 2 years, which is in 2019 to 2020, but it will increase again significantly in 2022. And lastly, net export. The graph shows the inconsistent trend of net export in Malaysia, the graph shows significant increase and decrease. The high amount of net export is in 2019 and the lowest was in 2013.
Okay, for chapter 2, first we have a natural resource in Malaysia. Malaysia is a rich in natural resource like petroleum, natural gas, thence gold and iron ore, which is a major producers and exporters of crude oil and LNG, with significant contributions from its tropical rainforests, palm oil plantations, and maritime resources. And next is talking of natural resource in Malaysia. Between 2011 and 2012, Malaysian natural reserve as a high varying strengths. Crude oil reserve declined steadily from 5,874 million barrels to 4,321 million barrels, indicate a reductions without significant new discoveries. One reserves peaked at 7.94 million tons in 2012, but then dropped rapidly in the following years. In contrast, fishery stock expanded from 1.41 million tons to 1.79 million tons, reflecting better marine resource management. Coal stockpiles remain generally steady, growing slightly from 1,724 million tons to 1,744 million tons, showcasing well-managed reserves despite increased demand. Productions of natural resources in Malaysia. From 2011 to 2012, Malaysia crude oil production saw minor mid-decade increase but generally fell from 455.789 barrels per day to 456.354 barrels per day. Palm oil output remained reasonably high, ranging from 80.79 to 19.96 million tons annually, with a slight dip in 2016. Fishery output was stable, maintaining around 1.38 to 1.39 million tons throughout the decade. Conversely, coal production declined sharply from 2.9 million tons in 2011 to 1 million tons in 2012, likely due to the change in energy regulations and reduced domestic demand.
Consumption of natural resources in Malaysia. Crude oil consumption climbed from 697 barrels per day in 2011 to a record of 867 barrels per day in 2019 before falling to 725 barrels per day in 2020. Palm Palm oil usage also fluctuated, growing from 2.20 million tons in 2011 to 3.51 million tons in 2018 before falling slightly to 2.94 million tons in 2020. Fisheries consumption fluctuated somewhat, peaking at 59.60 kg per capita in 2012 before falling to 53.33 kg per capita in 2020. Coal usage has steadily climbed from 18 million tons in 2011 to 36 million tons in 2020, demonstrating a rising reliance on this energy. Exports of natural resources in Malaysia. Crude oil exports fluctuated, beginning at 218 barrels per day
in 2011, falling to 209 barrels per day in 2013, then rising again to 357.583 barrels per day in 2018, before settling down at 218 barrels per day in 2020. The export of palm oil increased slightly from 25.37 million metric tons in 2011 to 27.88 million metric tons in 2019, but then fell significantly to 17.37 million metric tons in 2020. The export value of fisheries in Malaysia has steadily increased from Rm 2.7 billion in 2011 to Rm 5.4 billion in 2020. Although in small quantities, coal exports have decreased from 0.3 million tons in 2011 to 0.1 million tons in 2020. This data reflects changes in Malaysia natural resources export, providing insight into trends over the past decade. Import of natural resources in Malaysia. Crude oil imports have climbed from 171,950 barrels per day in 2011 to 204,030 barrels per day in 2020, indicating a rising reliance on foreign sources to supply local consumption. Palm oil import fluctuated significantly, with the greatest total reported in 2020 at 917,000 tons. Fishery imports also climbed steadily from 325,400 metric tons in 2011 to 462,500 metric tons in 2020, in line with rising local consumption. Most significantly, coal imports nearly quadrupled from 17.3 mt in 2011 to 35.0 in 2020, showing increased demands for industrial usage and domestic power generation could not be fulfilled entirely by local output.
Chapter 3 Issues or Natural Resources Utilization. Chapter 3 Issues or Natural Resources. Following the issues of natural resources, since the rise of the oil and gas (ONG) sector in the 1970s, Malaysia has reaped numerous benefits from its natural resources. While not subject to the resource curse of unquestionable reliance on natural resources, the oil and gas sector remains a critical enabler for many elements of the country's economy and public finances. Malaysia's current account demonstrates the importance of the industry, which has historically accounted for a large share of merchandise exports and foreign exchange earnings. In 1990, for example, the country's global exports of gasoline and derivative products were 5.4 billion, accounting for 18.3% of total merchandise exports. Petronas, the government-owned business giant, is a source of pride today and will be the country's lone also attempt to build an ecosystem of indigenous enterprise in the oil and gas sector to diversify the economy and encourage more technologically intensive work. In 2009, up to 40% of government revenue came from oil and gas related sources. By 2021, that proportion had dropped to just 19.2%. Despite its enormous potential, the ONG industry faces a variety of structural restrictions and legislative issues.
The solutions taken by the Malaysian government has been implementing many strategies to tackle obstacles and problems encountered by the oil and gas industry as it moves towards a more varied economic landscape. Among the fixes or actions that are First, economic diversification. The government has concentrated on boosting other industries like manufacturing, tourism, and technology in order to diversify the economy and lessen its dependency on oil and gas revenue. Second, investing in renewable energy. Putting money into renewable energy sources like solar, wind, and hydroelectric power has become more important in an effort to lessen the impact on the environment and improve energy security. Third, enhancing technical innovation. To increase productivity, save expenses, and open up new reserves, the government is promoting technical innovation in the oil and gas industry. Fourth, policy reforms. In order to ensure the sector long-term viability, it is imperative that structural limitation and legal concerns be addressed. Last but not least, fifth one, skills development and capacity building. The government is giving priority to programs that have the transition to increasingly technologically intensive work. Policies related to the issues. In response to obstacles encountered by Malaysia oil and gas industry, the government has been enacting a number of regulations designed to guarantee industry viability and foster economic diversification. Among the important policies pertaining to the aforementioned issues are fiscal reforms. The government main goal has been diversity its revenue streams outside of the oil and gas industry. This entails putting fiscal changes into place to increase revenue collection efficiency, diversify the tax base, and lessen dependency on ONG, which is oil and gas income. Malaysia can lessen its reliance on changes in energy prices by diversifying its sources, oil and gas government revenue. Second, energy policy shift. Malaysia has been attempting to move towards greener and more sustainable energy sources. The government has enacted laws to support the growth of renewable energy sources, energy saving programs, and carbon reduction objectives. These regulations seek to create new economic opportunities while lessening the energy sector's negative environmental impact. Third, development of industrial plants. The government has been working on industrial plants that emphasize a high value added sector other than oil and gas in order to foster innovation and economic diversification. As part of this, support is given sectors like advanced manufacturing technology and services in order to boost economic growth and competitiveness. Fourth, regulatory reforms. To increase openness, efficiency, and competitiveness in the oil and gas sector, regulatory reforms are necessary to address legislative difficulties and structural constraints. The government has been making efforts to improve licensing procedure, streamline laws, and guarantee fairness for all parties involved in the industry. These changes have the potential to strengthen the sector, draw in investment, and boost resilience. Last but not least, the fifth one is skills and workforce development. Policies emphasizing the development of skills and workforce training are essential given the trend in the oil and gas sector towards employment that is more technologically intensive. In order to fulfill business demands, the government has been funding programs aimed at upskilling the labor force, enhancing technical education, and guaranteeing a consistent supply of trained labor.
Next, sustainable land management and sustainable forest management. Sustainable land management (SLM). SLM in Malaysia focus on integration of land, water, biodiversity and environmental management. First, integrated land use planning integrates forest conservation with agriculture and urban development. Second, agroforestry practice combining agriculture and forestry practice include cultivation of crops alongside forestry. Third, soil and water conservation. Techniques such as contour farming, grazing and the land use of cover crops are employed. Fourth, rehabilitation of degraded lands. Malaysia undertakes afforestation process program to rehabilitate degraded, and the last community involvement and education, engaging local communities in SLM practice is
Hi, my
vital.
name is Gerbrina. Today I'm going to talk about the sustainable forest management in Forest Malaysia, which is aimed at ensuring that forest resources are managed in the way that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Forest Certification Scheme. Malaysia has adult certification schemes such as the Malaysian Timber Certification (MTCS) and the Forest Stewardship Council (FSC) certifications. These schemes ensure that forest management practice meets internationally recognized standards of sustainable and promoting responsible forestry and market access for the certificate timber product. Other than that, instead of clearing cutting, Malaysians employ selecting logging practice that minimize environmental impact. This approach involves carefully selecting and harvesting mature trees while preventing the overall structure and the function of the forest ecosystem. Next is biodiversity conservation. Protecting biodiversity is at the core of component of FSM in Malaysia. Establishing protecting areas, welfare corridors, and conservation zones help safeguard the habitats of endangered species and maintain ecological balance. Other than that is reduce the impact of logging, which is techniques are used to minimize the ecological footprint of logging activities. These include the planning and controlling the direction of the tree falls, minimize damage to surrounding the vegetation, and protecting soils and water resources from degradations. Next is effective monitoring and enforcement mechanisms are crucial to ensure compliance with FSM principles. Malaysia employs advanced in technological such as remote sensing and geography information system, which is CIS, to monitor forest cover changes, illegal logging activities, and overall forest health. The last one is stakeholders engagement, involving a wide range of the stakeholders, including government agency, non-government agency, indigenous communities, and the private sectors is essential for successful FSM. Collaborative efforts and multi-stakeholders platform facilitates the sharing of knowledge, resources, and the responsibility in forest management. In the conclusion, the application of the sustainable land management and the sustainable forest management in Malaysia demonstrate a commitment to sustainable development and environmental conservation. Through the integrated planning, community involvement, and the adherence to international standards, Malaysia aims to balance the economic growth with the preservation of its rich forest ecosystem. Continued efforts and innovation in these areas are essential to address the challenges posed by the climate change, biodiversity loss, and the land degradations. Ensure a sustainable future for the country, forests, and the people who depends on them.
Malaysia is characterized by its diverse culture, natural beauty, and significant historical milestones. Since 1970, the oil and gas sector has been a key contributor to the country economy, driving exports and infrastructure development. Malaysia balances economic growth with environmental conservation through sustainable land management and sustainable forest management, integrating land using planning and agroforestry to reduce deforestation, land degradation, and enhance soil fertility. The country focuses on forest resource utilization, adopting schemes like Malaysian Timber Certificate Scheme, MTCS, and Forest Stable Council certification to promote responsible forestry. Biodiversity is conserved through protected areas, wildlife corridors, and conservation zones with reduced impact logging (RIL) technique, minimizing the ecological footprint and logging. Among these resources, coal had a highest overall impact with substantial stock, production, consumption, and import values, followed by palm oil with significant production and export values. Crude oil had a high daily production and consumption rates, while fisheries showed notable export values and high import numbers due to the lesser extent compared to the coal and palm oil.
Next, we go to recommendation from experience of other country. First, sustainable forest management. The country of Sweden implements a forest management system that ensures the regeneration and preservation of forests. They use methods such as replanting after logging and maintaining biodiversity. Malaysia has also set criteria and indicators for sustainable forest management through the Malaysian Criteria and Indicators for Sustainable Forest Management (MCNI) system. Second, technology and innovation approach. Finland uses advanced technology to manage forests, including the use of satellite data and GIS, Geographic Information System, to monitor forest health and logging activity. Malaysia has also adopted advanced technology in forest management similar to Finland. The use of technology such as satellite monitoring and GIS helps in forest monitoring and detecting illegal activities such as illegal logging. Third, education and public awareness method. Germany focuses on education and public awareness about the importance of forests and conservation. Environmental education programs in school help raise the awareness of the young generation about the importance of forests. Malaysia has also focused on education and public awareness about the importance of forests.